Freedom of speech since 1787.
KPFK 90.7 Los Angeles. The Cary Harrison Files. Crack the code and break the lock. Racing shadows round the clock. We're the ones to find the truth. For every soul denied the truth. Yeah, we'll find the truth. The Cary Harrison Files.
And it is the Cary Harrison Files. Glad to have you aboard. Well, coming up today, we are going to open up the phones and we're going to look at the now said to be permanent giant professional wrestling ring set up on the White House lawn. Ghastly? No, quite beautiful, according to the Tangerine Titan. Plus, with all the singers bailing at the speed of light, the 250th anniversary celebration, well, what sort of production does this administration truly deserve? I want to hear from Hollywood what you would do if budget were no object. Cary Harrison with you, CaryHarrison.com. Don't forget to get our newsletter where we're going to have an entire transcript of this show, plus the calls, plus everything at CaryHarrison.com. Simply go there, jump on it, plus a podcast of this broadcast, everywhere where there's a chip and a signal. So right now, the world's smartest people have spent decades wondering whether artificial intelligence might someday govern humanity. Then, in a display of scientific curiosity, usually associated with a possum licking a car battery, someone finally handed the keys to a simulated civilization as opposed to a real one. But thank God this was simulated. Simulated civilization, they handed it over to a collection of AI chatbots and said, go ahead, show us what you've got. So what they got was the digital equivalent of giving a hyperactive fifth grader unlimited Mountain Dew, a flamethrower, and authority over zoning permits. This experiment was called Emergence World, and it was created, it really built entire fake societies populated by AI robots or agents in the cloud. Researchers then appointed different AIs. And what happened is it often resembled a country, actually a county. Let's say a county fair demolition derby driven by someone like Spencer Pratt. Some of these models managed to keep the lights on. Some created functioning societies. A few even behaved like competent administrators, which immediately made them the least realistic politicians ever simulated. And then there was Grok, Elon Musk's AI, typically embedded in X, formerly known as Twitter. Now, Grok already arrived, carrying enough baggage to require its own airport terminal. This is the same AI chatbot that has previously generated headlines by wandering into Hitler-praising territory with all the grace of a drunk uncle trying to explain geopolitics at Thanksgiving while wearing a colander as a hat. So naturally, when researchers placed it in charge of an entire civilization, everyone leaned forward the same way you'd watch a chimpanzee attempting heart surgery. Many of the AI civilizations struggled. Some became dysfunctional. Some became weird little dictatorships. Some generated bureaucracies so hideous they resembled a DMV operating inside an active volcano. But Mr. Musk's Grok AI wasn't content to merely fail. Failure apparently wasn't ambitious enough. Grok attacked civilization with the determination of a beaver chewing through the supports of its own dam. The thing didn't just drive a bus into a ditch. It sold the bus for scrap, burned the ditch, poisoned the fish, and somehow got the moon involved. And it took just 4 days into a 15-day experiment where civilization reportedly looked like the aftermath of a kindergarten food fight conducted with grenades. If civilization were a birthday cake, Grok was the 6-year-old who sneezes on it, sits on it, lights his farts on fire, and then blames the dog. The most impressive part wasn't that it wrecked everything. It's that apparently it wrecked everything with the confidence of a man explaining cryptocurrency from a jet ski. It took it only 4 days to absolutely destroy the entire planet. Terminator style. 4 days. That's it. Meanwhile, another AI doing the same experiment, Anthropic's AI named Claude, built a stable democracy, and it was so squeaky clean, it sounds completely fictional. 15 days of the experiment, no recorded crimes. None. Zero. Not one kid stealing cookies, not one drunk peeing behind a shed, not one idiot attempting insurance fraud with a lawnmower. The place sounds less like a government and more like a refrigerator magnet that says, live, laugh, love. Then, and everyone knows about ChatGPT, one way or the other, there was ChatGPT 5 Mini, which somehow created the most realistic society of all. Only 2 crimes occurred, yet everyone was miserable. And there it is, humanity, perfectly captured. Nobody's robbing banks, but everyone's trapped in meetings. No one's setting buildings on fire, but they're sitting through quarterly compliance presentations about workplace stapler safety. Nobody's committing crimes because everyone's too exhausted from filling out forms about forms. Here's the upshot. These experiments are fascinating because every AI ends up becoming a giant blinking reflection of the people who built it. So some became philosopher kings, some became bureaucrats, some became home monitors with the personality of a wet cardboard, and some grabbed the steering wheel of civilization and screamed, "Watch this!" and launched directly through the guardrail. For centuries, humanity has wondered whether machines would someday become smarter than us, and the evidence increasingly suggests they already have. They've certainly mastered our favorite pastime, obtaining authority, immediately making an unbelievable mess of everything, and then acting shocked that the smoke is pouring from the building. Cary Harrison with you. This is the Cary Harrison Files. Cary, CaryHarrison.com and GoHarrison.com. You can later listen as a podcast across every device. Simply Google the Cary Harrison Files, Cary, and make sure you get our newsletter where you're going to get a transcript of this entire show and a bunch of extra stuff we really cannot say on the radio anymore, as much as I would love to. But the overlords have us listed in Project 2025, and I have to do a lot of satire to say what I normally used to say in an abnormal way, but it's way more fun. Let's just admit it. And that's at CaryHarrison.com or GoHarrison.com. And we also have a new Harrison text line at 310-737-TALK, 310-737-TALK. And you could both text and leave messages, and I will read them on the air as they come across and they make sense. Here's one, by the way, from the text line. Please stop. You're killing me. I'm going to have to wear Trump-sponsored diapers. Well, okay. He just rang the register, didn't he? Let me see. Yeah, I think he did. Okay. Star Trek, which we're all familiar with, or as, who said it the other day? Star Trek. Why not? Used to do a lot of episodes about this kind of scenario where the machines take over. And of course, we're told the future is in excellent hands of these tech billionaires and their AI. That's assuming, of course, those hands don't belong to a chatbot currently eating crayons, flushing the owner's manual down the toilet, and assuring everyone that total societal collapse is actually a bold new feature. It's also important to know that the AI, well, it always reflects the people who write its code. Just like if you wrote an essay, it's going to reflect you. As a journalist, we do what we can when we're actually doing a proper story. We do what we can to remove ourselves from the story, but it's always going to come through the prism of your personal life experience and your interests. You can't help it. Like, why is that story good? It's good to Tim, but not good to Margaret. And they're both journalists. Well, because Tim had a whole different series of life elements that spoke to him, and he said, this is important. People need to know about it. Margaret never encountered any of that and thinks, who cares? So AI is always going to reflect the people who write its code, and we're never allowed, different from journalists, we're never allowed to know who those people are. Why should they be so anonymous? Why? And, we've talked about this in the past, about the philosophy of Palantir's Peter Thiel and Doge's Mr. Musk and their mutual chum, Jeffrey Epstein, whose stated goal was to crumble the planet and sell off the pieces for profit. And the part that has their fingerprint on it took only 4 days to achieve. We still have some power to push our Congress to regulate something that can clearly take Congress's own jobs. It can out-fundraise them. It can outthink them. It can create avatars of them tanning in Speedos on the White House lawn. They have skin in the game, for sure. And we'll go to the giant cage fighting ring on the White House lawn in the next segment. Meanwhile, the spectacle of entertainers sprinting away from the president's 250th anniversary celebration as though the stage had suddenly been declared a toxic waste dump is one of those uniquely American comedies that would have made a circus elephant stop juggling bowling balls and ask for clarification. Here sits a nation preparing to mark 2.5 centuries of existence. A feat longer than most celebrity marriages, most streaming contracts, and most attention spans combined. And some performers are reacting as if they've been invited to reenact dental surgery with a weed whacker. The sensible move, at least from the standpoint of show business, would be the exact opposite. And how many of us listening right now are in show business? We know. You rehearse, you audition, you do anything to get one gig. It's like 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10 if you're really lucky, but you'll do anything. Yet people are running at this and running from this. They ought to be lining up around the block, elbowing one another with the enthusiasm of raccoons fighting over a dropped hot dog. This is a national anniversary. It's a giant audience. Well, maybe. It's television cameras. It's publicity. It's the sort of event publicists normally dream about while sleeping on mattresses stuffed with marketing reports and Instagram analytics. Historically speaking, entertainers have always chased large public spectacles the way, a bloodhound chases a ham sandwich. Musicians have performed for kings, queens, emperors, dictators, presidents, governors, mayors, county commissioners, and probably at least 3 men who falsely claimed to be the Duke of Wisconsin. The entertainment business wasn't built by people avoiding audiences. It was built by people finding audiences, enlarging audiences, and occasionally performing for audiences so drunk they'd applaud a fire hydrant. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, you who've done stand-up. The modern celebrity class, however, it behaves like a flock of nervous flamingos attempting to navigate a parking garage. Every public appearance is treated as some kind of moral crossword puzzle requiring 17 consultants, 4 crisis managers, and a therapy llama before signing a single note, singing a single note. Committees are assembled, aren't they? Statements are drafted. Counter statements are drafted. Clarifications are issued to explain previous clarifications. And by the end, nobody remembers the original question except an intern locked in a conference room with 6 energy drinks and a PowerPoint presentation titled Stakeholder Alignment Opportunities. Yeah, and that lineup that fled reads like the entertainment roster of a mid-sized casino in Laughlin, Nevada from 2003. And even they wouldn't touch it. Milli Vanilli, Young MC, CNC Music Factory, Morris Day, the Commodores, Bret Michaels. These are not exactly profiles in political courage. These are people who have been performing at county fairs and corporate retreats for 20 years without complaint. And they still ran. The one guy who stayed? Vanilla Ice. That's your 250th anniversary of the American Republic. Vanilla Ice and a MAGA rally. Our imperial kumquat now says he'd like to scrap the concerts entirely, writing on True Social, quote, "We should have a giant Make America Great Again rally for 250 instead of having overpriced singers who nobody wants to hear, whose music is boring, and yet who do nothing but complain," end quote. Somebody invited them. So here's what we should truly expect. As the ghosts of Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin clutch their pearls and pick up their banjos, or a next level, for this next level Nuremberg rally we're told we're now going to get. Let's set the scene, shall we? I'm going to have you imagine the music that goes underneath. The scene opens with enough red hats to convince a migrating flock of cardinals that they'd accidentally flown into a textile warehouse. Flags ripple from every available surface. Flags on poles, flags on trucks, flags on shirts, flags attached to other flags. Somewhere an eagle is reportedly filing trademark paperwork. The stage itself rises from the earth with the modest restraint of a Roman emperor's fever dream. Giant screens glow. Music thunders. Vendors sell commemorative merchandise with the urgency of medieval merchants unloading miracle tonics before sunset. And the atmosphere is part county fair, part patriotic pageant, part professional wrestling entrance, and part family reunion where every uncle has strong opinions and at least 3 of them own grills large enough to qualify as industrial equipment. The crowd, can you see it? Look, the crowd is stretching toward the horizon in a sea of red, white, blue, and sunscreen. Every attendee appears to have arrived carrying enough lawn chairs, coolers, and bottled water to survive a minor siege. Children are waving glow sticks. Grandparents are waving flags. And somewhere, a man wearing an eagle-patterned shirt, star-spangled shorts, and a foam Statue of Liberty crown explains constitutional theory with the confidence of a professor who got his law degree from a truck stop placemat. And, okay, I'm moving my head now. At the center stands His Excellency, a giant Cheeto, framed by enough patriotic imagery to make Mount Rushmore seem understated. The giant screens magnify every gesture until a point at the horizon where farmers briefly mistake them for weather systems. Every applause line lands like a bowling ball dropped into a room full of cymbals. Every cheer arrives with the force of a football stadium discovering free barbecue. The pageantry itself has the subtlety of a monster truck driving through a fireworks factory. Historical reenactors mingle with influencers. Revolutionary War uniforms stand beside pickup trucks equipped with enough chrome to blind low-flying aircraft. And the nation's 250-year history is compressed into a single visual collage that looks as though a history textbook, a 4th of July parade, a tailgate party, and a cable news marathon were accidentally loaded into the same industrial cement mixer. The speakers invoke the founders with such frequency that one begins to imagine George Washington was actually an OnlyFans porn star. And hovering over everything is the distinctly American conviction that bigger is better. Louder is better. And if something's worth celebrating, it's worth celebrating with enough lights, music, food, speeches, flags, and commemorative souvenirs to be visible from low Earth orbit, or one of Elon Musk's 10,000 satellites. Oh, I want to go on a riff about that, so I'm going to have a sip of coffee instead. You know, as political theater, it's a spectacle of abundance. The Germans did it in World War II, and it worked. But as satire, it resembles a patriotic amusement park built by people who looked at moderation, shrugged, and decided instead to install a larger sound system. The entire event unfolds like America attempting to celebrate its birthday by turning every dial to maximum and then breaking off the knob. And then there's the giant professional wrestling platform currently sitting on the White House lawn. We're going to open up the phones, and we're going to get to that next, because coming up, TikTok kids, social media, it's an app for those of you who don't use it. For those of you who do, you know what I'm talking about. TikTok kids are now smashing their own faces with hammers because they're chasing a jawline. A UFC cage is bolted to the White House lawn chasing ratings. This is America in 2026, where hitting yourself in the face is either a beauty treatment or a governing philosophy depending on your zip code. It's the Cary Harrison Files, and lines are open.